Hi, I'm Ryan Brown. I'll be teaching the Modern Humanities class at Trace this coming school year. And Modern Humanities is basically a literature class and a history class all rolled into one. So we're going to be looking at the history and literature of Western civilization, primarily Western civilization, through the 19th and the 20th centuries. Obviously, that's a big section of literature, but if you took my class 2 years ago, we did from the Protestant Reformation up through the Enlightenment. And when we finished that class, we were looking at the French Revolution of the late 1700s. So this class kind of picks up where that class left off. So that class finished with the revolutions of the late 18th century, and we're starting with the 19th century. So that's kind of where we are in history. We're going to be reading works from people in England, Germany, Italy, France, Russian even, so kind of a spattering of people from all over kind of Western civilization. And the goal is that you're going to understand the time period that these people were living in better through reading what they wrote about. You'll see their philosophy, you'll see the way that they thought, the way that they felt, the way that what the world around them was influencing them to write about, how that kind of comes out. And that's the goal of this humanities class, is kind of seeing history through the lens of literature. Of course, it's a literature class, so there's going to be a lot of reading. Get ready for that. There's 9 major books on my reading list, so it's just going to be a good chunk of reading every week. Be expecting it. If you struggle to read quickly, you might look into audiobooks as a supplement to help you. There's great tools out there to do that in this world that we live in. It's a wonderful time to be alive, where you can have access to books without having to be a fast reader. But you must keep up with the readings, or you're going to fall behind in the class. It's just the nature of the case. One tool to help you keep up with the readings is a reading journal. So each week in your reading journal, you'll need to record at least 3 to 5 entries. And all of those entries is whatever you're reading that week. Notice a phrase that you think is really well written, a quote from that book that you think is really good, and just write it down and say a few things about it. Or it could be something as simple as, we're reading this thing by Leo Tolstoy, and these Russian names are really confusing, and I can't keep it straight, right? That could be as simple as something like that. The point is, whatever you're reading about, you need to be writing something about, because that helps connect what you're reading through your brain all the way down to your hands, and you're going to remember it better if you do that. So just a tool, that's something that you'll be in. And what's kind of handy about that is it's an easy, daily grade. So each week when I'm checking it, if you just do it, you make an A on that. So that helps keep your average up if you're doing it regularly. Along with that, I've chosen not to give tests for this class. I don't think that giving a test is the best way to assess whether you understand literature. There's a place for it, and I think that sometimes it's good, especially when you're first kind of learning reading comprehension and thinking about what you've read, just getting a grasp on the characters, the plot, the basic story. Hopefully, by the time you get to this class, you've gotten past that, right? I'm not looking for book reports. I want you to be able to write about literature and think critically about it and have an opinion about whether or not what is going on there is good or bad. And so because of that, instead of a test, you're going to write essays. So your major grades will come from writing essays in this class. And those are not book reports, like I said. They are an essay where you're persuading me, or your reader, I guess, of your position. You're saying, here's a thesis, I believe this is the case, and I'm going to try to convince you of why that's true. That may sound intimidating, but writing persuasive papers is really, really helpful in you thinking critically about literature and the philosophy that it's trying to promote. And that's an important tool, because you're going to encounter words in your life that may or may not be right, and you need to be able to figure out what's wrong with them and talk about it with someone else. So that's a huge part of what we're going to be doing, is reading and writing about what we read and discussing it in class. In-class discussions are awesome. What you need: spiral bound or composition notebook to use as your reading journal. You need a binder with some paper in it to take notes in class, things that we do in discussions or whatever. Also, I'll be handing out things that you'll need to be able to stick into a binder to keep track of, handouts, poems, whatever else. Pens and pencils, of course, but you also need access to a word processor. So a computer that you can get on Google Docs with. You don't have to buy Microsoft Word or whatever. Something as simple as Google Docs is fine. but you need to be able to type an essay and turn it in that way. So that's an important thing. And then, of course, you'll need to get the books. When it comes to the books, on your book list, you'll see I've given specific editions. I've given you the ISBN and the publisher. I recommend those editions. That way we can all be on the same page in class. So we're having in-class discussions. I don't want anybody to be, like, oh, I can't find that quote anywhere. Where are we? Because we're in 17 different editions. Because most of these books have been out for a long time and there's lots of different options to pick. So I've given you a specific one. If you already have any of these books, don't go buy another one. It'll be okay. We'll make it work. But if you're having to buy them anyway, get this one. I've done my best to pick relatively inexpensive versions of each of these. So hopefully it will still be really accessible to you. And a lot of them you can find like on thrift books or something like that, used for even cheaper. So hopefully you can get all the books. And then a lot of them are also available in free audiobook form. So that'll be a helpful tool to many of you as well. If you have any questions, if you're still not sure exactly what's going to be happening in our Modern Humanities class, please contact me. My information's on the syllabus. You can get in touch and we can talk about any questions you may have. But I really look forward to reading some of these books. There's actually a couple on here that I've never read before and I've wanted to for a long time. So I'm excited to get to read them and talk about them with all of you guys. See you soon.